Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Joshi Weekly here on the YouTube channel. Today, we are doing a Cinderella Tournament 2026 update, talking the first and second rounds of the tournament, every single match. We're also going to talk about Sareeism and Saree's big news from this past week, and take a look at Joshi going global as they were involved a little bit here, there, and everywhere, whether it be Pro Wrestling Eve, WXW Germany, or CMLL. We're going to look at all those matches as well. We are going to look at the entire landscape of Joshi as much as we can, and hopefully talk a little bit more as time goes on about how exciting it's about to get, because over the next few months, Joshi couldn't be more exciting. And I feel like we are really on the precipice of just that. And honestly, it all starts this weekend. For the next 2 months, we are going to be packed and loaded with so much to talk about, so much to go over. And this kind of, in an unofficial way, kicks us all off. So, with that being said, let's get to the show. First, we're going to start off with Saree's big news. After holding a very special press conference to announce the latest updates to the Sareeism Chapter X 15th anniversary show, she also revealed that a new theme song has been created. A new theme song by Hitomi Shimatani, the same woman who sang the truly iconic theme song that Sareee has carried on for years and years and years. She has now created a new theme song to mark a new chapter in her career. And it's a theme song that I have quickly started to love. I'm excited for the whole version to be released with a music video and so much more. CD sales will start on the 22nd at Sareeism, which is very exciting. So if you're there and able to get a CD, I think that'll be a really cool, unique thing to acquire. But digitally, it will go on sale, become available on the 29th of March. The song is called Sun Goddess Prism. So a big time adjustment, really, in who Sareee is and who Sareee will be moving forward, right? It is a massive, massive deal, right? Being able to create your own song with someone like Shimatani, who is such a big deal, is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I think that is something that honestly might be overlooked. I think when it comes to all the big news that we get in Joshi Wrestling, sometimes something like this can kind of go over someone's head. But I'm excited. I'm excited because everything that Sareee does with purpose. She does it with a mindset, and to me, this is part of that mindset, right? With the 15th anniversary being celebrated, we are now entering a new phase, a new chapter, a new part of her career, right? We are shutting the door on it at the 15th anniversary show and opening to something new. At the 15th anniversary show will be the final time she comes out to her original theme song, which is very exciting. We'll get to hear it one more time, and then we have the new song. And like I said, I can't wait to hear the full version, but there are versions going around, some examples of the music video. If you haven't been able to check it out already, go ahead and check it out. Super duper excited, super happy for Sareee that she's able to put her own touch on the theme music, taking part in working on the lyrics with Shimatani, which is really, really cool. And I think that's the part that I love the most about it is that this is now going to be super, super true to her. It's going to be her own mindset, her own creation. And I think that's so fitting of what she's done since returning to Japan, right? So much of what Sareee has done is against the grain, right? She didn't sign with a major company right after WWE. No, she went freelance and she created this essential produce show empire in Sareeism that has become one of the most important parts of Joshi Wrestling over the past number of years. And she has done a little bit here or there. Sendai Girls, Marigold, Stardom, Marvelous, obviously, is, super involved. All these companies, she has been a major part of them all, and she continues to pave a way that no one really has done ever. And I think that's why I am loving what Sareee is doing. I'm loving the continuation and the way she's able to evolve despite, having been quite frankly the best wrestler in the world over the past number of years. Now we get to see that next chapter. And it's been a quiet start to the year for her. So this in so many ways feels like her true official start to 2026, right? This big time show. She's put so much work into it. We've had some really cool matches along the way. Uh, but with that big time show, we're gonna get a whole new Sareee, and in many ways, the end or the closing of one chapter. So I'm super excited for that. I'm super happy that she's able to put this together. Just quickly before we move on, here are the updated matches to Sareeism if you haven't seen them already. So we do know that there will be a match with X. It will be Crocio, Tokyo, Japan taking on X, whoever that may be. So I'm fascinated to see what that turns out to be. We do know that the tag team partners of Senka Katsuki and Fuwachan in the trios match. On one side, Senka Katsuki will team with Takako Inoue and Jaguar Yokota. While Fuwachan will team up with Yumiko Hoda and Shinobu Kandori. So really incredible to see those true Joshi legends step in there with two of the young, up and coming, exciting stars in the scene. So I'm looking forward to that. And then we, of course, have Veni versus Hanako. Hanako had asked to be on this card, and Sareee found an opponent for her in the form of Veni. That kind of reminded me of the last Sareeism event, right? You may have forgot it, but I certainly didn't, of how we got teased of Bozilla versus Veni. To me, that's what this match might have been once upon a time. But of course, Bozilla unfortunately got injured. She had surgery this past week. We're wishing her all the best. So Hanako steps into that spot as well. It's a 7-match card as of right now. It's an exciting card. It's as fitting to Sareeism and as fitting to Sareee as humanly possible. And it's a show I can't wait for. So March 22nd at the Yokohama Budokan, we'll be able to check out one of the most exciting shows of 2026, no doubt. And I'm looking forward to that one, as well as the official debut of the new theme song and this next chapter for Sareee. Now we get to the Cinderella Tournament. For those who may be jumping in to this video, this is very likely why you are here. We had a lot of matches. We're going to talk about all 3 days of action. We had tournament round 1 action on both Friday and Saturday. We also had round 2 action on Sunday at Corkin Hall. We will have quarterfinal action on Wednesday. We will do a full video for those 4 matches and preview the semifinals and final on a very special episode. We have a lot of content coming out here. I have other plans for other videos that have just been pushed back because of how many big events we have going on in March. But yeah, we are already towards the end of the Cinderella tournament, and it's shaping up to be a very special closing stretch here that I'm very excited for. So let's lock in. Let's talk about this. Will be the bulk of your Joshi Weekly this week. I could have done a Stardom update, but there was just so much going on in the world of Joshi, like the Sareeism update, like her getting new theme music, and all these different things around the world. So if you're looking for that at the end, we'll talk about that at the end. We also have a new debut in Marigold. We also have a fun trios match to talk about from Noah. So, like I said, we're all everywhere. But if you're here for the bulk, if you're here for the Cinderella update, we are starting that right now. And it all started with Yuna Mizumori versus Rian. The first match of the 2026 Cinderella tournament proved to be a big time match with a big time surprise, as it was Rian pulling off the upset win over Yuna Mizumori. I want to start off by saying this. I think the night 1 of the tournament was kind of, in a way, unfortunately, more reminiscent of the past number of years, where the tournament feels a little bit rushed, a little bit meh, lacks the excitement level, lacks the drama that I think a Cinderella type match can have. But it did kick off with a bang with the big Rion upset. And I think that was very important of making the night not feel, I don't want to say like a lost cause, because there was some really good stuff on this. And ultimately, I think the Cinderella tournament this year has been really solid. But the first night was by far the weakest night of them all. That being said, Rian getting a big win was very, very cool. Obviously sets her up for a future high-speed championship match. I feel like I've watched Yuna Mizumori get pinned so many different times since winning the high-speed title, which I guess is kind of the the point of where she is in her placement in Stardom. She can lose and then defend her title and get the win back, so it's no big deal. But overall, I thought this was a fun start to the tournament with Rion getting the win. We then had Aya Sakura versus Fukigen Death. Aya Sakura playing up this idea of, being the maid, right? Or the was it maid or something, or the cleaner, much like Cinderella was before she of course became Cinderella. She is playing to full character. She got a mop, she got all this different stuff. Um, and that is kind of the story to follow. And she ended up defeating Fukigen Death, so she advanced in the tournament. It's a nothing match. There's not much to talk about here. She ended up pinning her with her new version of a roll up that looks very overly complicated. But listen, I'm a big time Aya Sakura fan, so I'm very happy. And ultimately, this is the only match she had to wrestle the entire weekend, which is good news for her as she heads into the quarterfinals on Wednesday. So that's great. We'll talk about why we got there, but not a match we need to talk in depth about by any means. We then had Waka Tsukiyama versus Arana Yagami. Again, kind of a nothing match. Not one that stood out to me by any stretch. Waka got a little bit of her offense before Arana Yagami rightfully got the victory. It's one of those matches that you see in the Cinderella. You're like, okay, this person needs to win. And thankfully for Rana, she indeed got that win. I think Rana's in a very fascinating spot, and that's kind of why I'm excited to talk about the Cinderella tournament, this version, or I should say this way, because there is a uniqueness to how these wrestlers are booked and where these wrestlers are going. Rana Yagami feels very stuck. One could argue that's much of the Queen's Quest, or not Queen's Quest, jeez. Much of the God's Eye spot is a lot of people feel stuck or in the same spot or not moving much outside of like Hina. So it's interesting to see Rana get interesting matches, but I thought she had a good second match. But good for her for advancing here. We then had Natsupoi versus Tabata again. Not a match that jumped off the page by any means. Unlike last year when Tabata got the big upset over Hina, who is future Stardom champion in this tournament, she did not get an upset over Natsupoi. Instead, getting an upset over Natsupoi was saved for the Korakuen on Sunday. Then we got the most odd, and probably the maybe the worst match of the tournament so far. Hanako and Yuri Hime went to a double countout draw, eliminating them both from the tournament and advancing Aya Sakura all the way to the quarterfinals by default. Obviously, a massive deal for her. And by the way, this is all one side of the bracket, which does help having these conversations for sure. But a massive, massive deal, right? Because the advancement for Aya Sakura is very exciting. I'm a big Aya Sakura fan, so I'm fine there. But this is all to set up a future Stardom Championship match, which is fascinating because I feel like so much of the past number of months has been setting up another clash between Hanako and Aya Sakura, with them both on the bracket with a chance to face off in the second round. I thought for sure we were going to be working towards that with an opportunity to have them go to a draw to eliminate both of them, or to have Aya Sakura get a win and maybe another future Stardom Championship match. Rather, it is Yuri Hime that will be getting that by going to a draw. But the double countout was silly. Listen, you have all these different rules in place, right? And I know they've moved the time limit from 10 to 15, so that's neither here nor there. That's what they've decided, and that's fine. And I think it's probably helped the matches overall. But a double countout just felt silly. You can do the double ring out, right? Having them both fall over the top and crash to the floor. I don't need to go to the 15-minute draw, but I understand the purpose of what you're doing. I would just do the double over the top rope. But if I remember correctly, we did that elsewhere. So it is what it is, but it was good news for Aya Sakura. The match itself, not memorable. If anything, not that great. We then had Maki Ito versus Kikyo Furusawa, the Ito Respect Army facing off, something that Maki Ito is very emotional about. And I think the match worked. I think my biggest takeaway about Maki Ito so far in Stardom, while still trying to figure it out because she is very much still just Maki Ito, which is fine. That is who she is, and that's how she got big. I would have loved a little bit of change up, but that's fine. I think the best thing about Maki Itoh, though, in Stardom has been giving a direction to someone that was so directionless as a rookie, and that was Kikyo Furusawa. For the longest time, it never felt like there was an obvious place for someone like Kikyo. There was not an obvious thing to do with someone like Kikyo. So for me, I'm thrilled. I am thrilled that she has something. And it's not only having something, but every single match she now has someone to team with. She's not just thrown into random tags every match. And I think that is giving her confidence and giving her something to do. So with that, it's a win. And this match, I thought, for what it was, played pretty well to the strengths of both wrestlers. I thought Kikyo had a very solid showing. I think Maki Itoh did a very good job leading the match. And overall, like, again, I walked away from it saying, okay, cool. Like, that to me works. And I think at the end of the day, that's kind of what you're looking for, is Kikyo getting something out of this. She was never advancing against Maki Itoh. Maki Itoh is someone they are very behind very clearly, and they want to make her a big deal. Um, but I do think this match did more for Kikyo than had she faced maybe someone else and just got eliminated. So good on Maki on that. Good on Kikyo. It'll be fascinating to see how far Maki Itoh goes. She is now set up. Well, before this, she was set up to face either Seriano or Fuwachan, but as we learn on this show, she is instead straight to the quarterfinals because Seriano versus Fuwachan went to a double ring out, both of them falling over the top rope down to the floor at the same time. So, like I said earlier, you could have did that with Hanako and Yorihime. They wanted to get creative, so they didn't do that, which I get. I do get it because you don't want to do the same finish twice. But at the same time, double count's still crazy in this tournament. And I just don't like double counts, but that's neither here nor there. This match, though, this match was the best match of the night. And for me, up until round 2, was the best match of the tournament. This match ruled, folks. Absolutely ruled. When you watch Seriano, I think you can forget how freaking good she is. And I say that because, yes, she had the World of Stardom Championship match at the end of the year. But literally, besides that one match, it does feel like, to me, she hasn't had all that much going on. Like, Seriano just loses a lot. That has kind of been her thing for the past 6, 7, 8, 9 months, right? They've told this story of her kind of being a loser, which is a fascinating story to tell for someone in Seriano that I think myself and many others see at such a high, prominent level. That being said, this match ruled. And why? Because one, Serrano is very good. Two, Fuwachan is a superstar. I will say it, and I'll say it, and I'll say it again. Every single match she has is must see for me. I must go out of my way to see every Fuwachan match because more often than not, it is one of the best matches on the card, if not the best in Stardom right now. That is a credit to her and the energy she brings and the quality of talent she brings to each and every single match. Like, she is a superstar. I talked about it, and some people like that would be funny, if she beat Sayaka Kurara for the World of Stardom Championship. But I was like half serious because I don't think I'm alone in seeing what is unfolding here, and that she is an incredibly talented professional wrestler, and one who not only connects to the crowd and has a great underdog spirit, but is one that obviously has the outside popularity that Stardom, I'm sure, wants to capitalize on. So her not advancing in this tournament, and again, I knew she wasn't once paired with Seriano. That was the difficulty, though I would have loved the major upset. And I think with Sareee it could have been, but honestly, if she wasn't going to win, I think having her go to a draw and doing so in a way where she's the one pretty much eliminating Sareee, right? She's the one hitting the move where they both fall. I think that's a job well done. And I think that was really, really well impressive of how she's able to have these type matches. She is a star. These two actively had an awesome, awesome match. And despite going to a double over the top rope elimination, I thought this did way better at what you're trying to do with something like a Hanako and Yorihime. And again, helps when you have someone like Seriano leading the way, but we were also just watching Fuwachan pretty much blow up in a major way. Every single match having a great performance. She has been arguably, I think, the Stardom MVP of 2026 thus far. And I know we're only 2 months and change into the year, but I think she has been like an MVP type level for her. You know, she may not have the best match, but she's had really good matches. She had really good performances. And like I said, every time she wrestles, you got to watch it. So this was really fun. But the two going to a draw moved Makito to the quarterfinals, setting up a big time matchup after Hanan, unsurprisingly, defeated Momo Kogo in the main event of night one. And I just want to say these main events that we're deciding on are crazy, by the way. We've had crazy main events all 3 nights, in my opinion, but I think in some ways they've made certain things predictable. There was not a world Momo Kogo was winning this match, but I guess on paper there wasn't a more obvious match on night one than this one. And you know, Hanan's a former Cinderella winner, blah blah blah. It was a fine, solid match. You know, Momokogo's a solid worker, as we know. Hanan's a solid worker, as we know. And Hanan is, I think, the heavy favorite in this tournament. Obviously, I did not pick her. If you haven't checked out the video and you want to see who I predicted, you can go check that out on YouTube right now. The Cinderella Tournament predictions. It is up on the YouTube channel. You can see it in full, see what we're cooking. You can see how right I've been, how wrong I've been. Listen, I'm already doing better than last year, so that's a big victory for me as someone who predicts this tournament often wrong. But yeah, I mean, I see Hanan as a finalist and potentially the winner. So it's not a shock that she gets the win on night one in a solid, fun little match between two Stars members. So that brings us to the bracket and the updates here. So as you can see, after night one, we had Hana and Rana Yagabe set for round two. Makito advancing all the way to the quarterfinals because of the awesome draw between Serrano and Fuichan. Ayasaka going all the way to the quarterfinals because of the draw between Hanako and Yurihime, and then Rian and Natsupoi setting up for a matchup on round two on the Sunday show. Now we move on to the other side of the bracket, which I call the better side of the bracket. We had Tomoki Naba versus Ane Kanaya starting things off. Listen, it's tough to be an Ane Kanaya fan, just plain and simple. If you have been a fan since day one, if you've been a fan since the moment she walked back in the ring after her injury, whatever it may be, you have understood, you know who Ane Kanaya is, and unfortunately, she is the resident loser for the promotion. So it was not a shock that she indeed lost. I do think after day one of having Rian, who while having wins is the other one that suffers a lot of losses, having the upset against your Yuna Mizumori on night one, it was smart to put this in a similar spot on night two. Tomoki Naba is just phenomenal, and I'm going to talk more about that later. But I think Tomoki Naba is so miscast in terms of her placement in Stardom. I know she's not technically a Stardom wrestler, but she's essentially on every other show. So let's put some more push into her. I'd like her to have a set tag team, probably Hina. I'd like her to get more title opportunities. I know she had the Wonder Stardom title opportunity last year, but I want more because she's so fantastic. We'll talk about her more here in a little bit, but she did advance. And this was a solid start to night two. We then had Lady C versus Azusa Naba. And listen, I want to pour one out for the Lady C fans out there. I see you. I see you. I see you. I see the Lady C fans react on Twitter. I see them react in Discord. I see them. I see them because it is tough sledding to be a Lady C fan these days. She loses every match. For someone who has put so much work into, I think, becoming a pretty solid wrestler overall, you would think she would be higher placed up. And it reminds me of like conversations people have in other companies of people they want to be pushed and how, you know, maybe they should be higher than they are. Lady C is the definition of that. The problem is the promotion is full of talent. You know, the promotion is full of talent. And when you have a matchup like this against Azusa Naba, someone who made it really far in last year's tournament, you don't have much hope for poor Lady C. A fascinating part of this match is that Saya Kamatani actually cost Lady C this match, tripping her. Saya Kamatani did indeed show up to work. Um, she's been out injured for a month now. Yeah, we're past the month. So she should be back any moment. But she is ringside and she helped Azusa Naba, who I think is her like top protege. I said this back at the 5-star Grand Prix. I think it's kind of something that can be overlooked because Azusa Naba is just another part of Hate. I get that. But I feel like there's a connection there, right? Saya Kamatani, I thought, gave her first great match of the 5-star this past year against Azusa. And that really jumped out to me. I was like, yeah, there's a care here. There is a notable connection here that I don't think you just get. So I think that's been kind of a sweet thing that I've noticed. Again, feel bad for the Lady C fans, but the match was fun for what it was. Two good wrestlers having a fun match, not a shock. But like I said, night 2 is a much better night than night 1, so we'll keep talking it up as we go here. We then had Saida versus Kyoko Kotatsu, another solid by the books match, nothing crazy. Kyoko Kotatsu remains the mystery of Stardom to me. I don't really understand who she is or what she does. When I say that, is like she's not on every show. So in so many ways, she is just another part of the roster, but she's someone who you think they'd maybe want to develop. Look how cool she looks, right? But I'm happy she did not beat Saida. That would have been questionable. Saida got the win. I believe she submitted her. I don't have to say much more than that. Saida got the win, as she should. Saida was in the Wonder of Stardom Championship match at Queendom at the end of last year. She should be winning. But those winning ways did not go as far as I expected. So that's part of this, but we'll talk about that here in a little bit. We then had the match of the night, and up to this point, I think the match of the tournament, that was Hina versus Xena. Listen. You want to talk about people that Stardom need to do more with? That is Xena. Xena's awesome. I think people forget how great Xena's World of Stardom title match was last year. Was it last year? Sorry, now it's 2 years ago with Micah. That match I remember being made. I was like, I don't know. And then Xena hit a home run. And ever since then, she's been hooping. And then, of course, she had the injury. She's come back. She's been slowly eased in. But every time we give her an opportunity, she freaking rules, man. I love Xena. I think she's terrific. I really do. I think she's the best foreigner in Stardom. We'll talk about that in a second because she was not in the main event. The other foreigner of Stardom was in the main event. I know Bozilla's out injured. And I don't get it because her and Hina kicked ass. This match was so good. It was so much fun. Hina, I've been singing the praises of Hina for quite some time now. We did it after the Konami match, obviously, and how good she's been in the lead up to that and development. This match was so good, though. Hard hitting, physical, nasty, the most physical match of the first round. It's just everything I think you want. It's the style you want from Joshi sometimes, right? Xena brings such a different flavor in terms of the way she chops, right? She has the lucha style chops, and those always jump off the page. But she's also a hard striker. She's very athletic. She's very talented. And, now that EXV is not together anymore, I'd like to see where she lands. I think this was a showing one that she should lose because I don't think Hina being out round 1 was an idea I would have had. So I'm happy she did not lose round 1. But it was a perfect start to 1, Hina's tournament. 2, Xena kind of saying, I'm back. It's time for me to do more. And 3, starting off an MVP conversation for Hina in this term, which I do think is very important because I do think Hina can be the MVP of this term. We've watched over the past 3 years. 2 years ago when Hanan won, I thought she was the MVP of that tournament. Last year, I thought Rena was the MVP of that tournament. Could Hina follow up and be the MVP of this tournament? I don't think it's out of the question. I think we should really much consider it being very in the question moving forward. Really good match here. If you haven't been able to check them all out, go out of your way to watch this one. We then had Miyu Amasaki versus Rina Yamashita. The potential of Saya Ida versus Rina Yamashita was on the table, folks. And they took it away from us. And listen, I'm not even that upset. I mean, I'm upset that we didn't get Rina Yamashita versus Saya Ida in Korakuen Hall because that would have ruled. but I'm not upset in the fact that Miyu Amasaki won. Miyu Amasaki is someone that I've said in the past, there's something there. And listen, she's not fundamentally going crazy with her moveset, right? People have called her moveset boring. I think Japanese fans have said that before. But I think she's someone that just, I don't know, has a likability to her. And I've enjoyed her work in O2 line. I enjoyed her work, when she was in the Future of Stardom title division. I've enjoyed her work from time to time. So I have no problem with her winning here because it's one of those things of like, are you gonna give her a shot or are we just going to move on? Like Miyu Amasaki was the first new trainee after COVID, really, right? She was the first new trainee to start the new wave. And so quickly as the supernova, she got a pretty strong push. She's kind of the face of new blood early on. And then she got eased back and she got put into tag teams and trios. And I think that's really where she developed. And then she kind of did a little bit of nothing. And then she got back to the future stuff. And then she lost the belt. And then she did a little bit more nothing. But she had a really good showing when they were trios champions. So to me, I think Miyu Amasaki is a fascinating case of, okay, where does she fit in the Stardom roster? Because once upon a time, it did feel like they had high hopes for her. And I don't think there's any reason not to have high hopes for her moving forward. And it's clear in this tournament, I think they have at least some because she main evented the Korakuen on night 3. After getting the win over Rina Yamasha, it set her up for a matchup with Saida, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. You then had your semi-main event. I think the other favorite alongside Hanan being Sayaka Kurara, my pick to win the entire tournament if she goes full tam brain these days. But I mean, look at her. She's kind of a psycho, right? Look at her. Look at her. How do you not pick the psycho? Listen, I have been through it all with Sayaka Kurara. She is someone when she debuted, I really liked. I never stopped liking her, but I was like, all right, we got to calm down on this push. I don't know if she's ready for this. When she won the Cinderella tournament last year, I was like, I don't know, man. And that World of Stardom Championship match I thought was pretty solid, but still, it was asking way too much of Kurara coming off the big Tam match, right? That first defense. Way too much asking of her. Now, though, it's different. Now, though, I think she has more confidence. Now, I think she's advanced, right? The 5-star Grand Prix, we saw her take a major step in terms of her wrestling. And I think this tournament has kind of shown, specifically the Tomoka match, what I was saying in my prediction video. She is the story. Kurara is the story right now in Stardom. You, so much of the time I have talked about, right? So much of the time I have spoken about, we need a big story. We need something. We need something. We need something. And I said this on the predictions, and I'll say it again. There is no bigger story with All Star Grand Queendom right there than Sayaka Kurara trying to avenge Tam Nakano 1 year later against Saya Kamatani. There isn't one. And Saya Kamatani continuously denying Kurara's request makes this a fascinating tournament to follow. Because in my mind, I think her being the resilient babyface to survive once again and setting herself up for a big time matchup with Hate before that, which we'll talk about here later on when we preview the quarterfinals, is that to me, we are all roads ahead to her main eventing All-Star Grand Queendom. And I think that's better option than Micah. I think that's a better option than Starlight Kid, better option than Azumi, better option than everyone because there is again a story here. Her and Saki Kashima had a fine little silly kind of match, right? Saki Kashima's in the spot where, frankly, she's retiring for a reason. I think she's beat up. She doesn't do too much in her matches, but it's a wonderful way to have her involved a little bit here, there, and everywhere before things finish up. So she got the win over Saki Kashima, reversing the revival, and that was fine. They had a nice little moment, and we move on. But we'll talk more about Kurara here as we go along. We then had the semi-main event of the evening. It was Akira Kuragane versus Rina. Listen, we were packing it up. We were moving on. Rina all day, though I thought this was a better performance from Akira Kuragane. than the Future of Stardom Championship match, which I had said I was not a big fan of on the Cork and Hall show, because I think Rena is someone who works to someone's strengths a lot better. You know how much of a fan I am of Rena. That is my favorite wrestler in Stardom. So I'm always going to be singing her praises, but I think she did a really good job here with Akira. I think she did a great job here with Akira, to the point where Akira had some nice moments, had some nice near falls before Rena said enough is enough and got the win. They gave them time, they gave them effort, and I think the match was well structured, well paced, and ultimately ended up being a pretty solid bout between the two. So win-win there. Good for Akira, who I want to see continue make strides, right? She's a fascinating wrestler, because I think the style she wants to wrestle maybe isn't perfect, but perfect for who she is, because I just don't know if she has the natural ability to reach it, but she's someone who clearly puts in a lot of effort. And I think those are the types of wrestlers that make it far. So I'm going to keep watching them, keep hoping. This was a great follow up to that Future of Stardom Championship match. And getting a semi main event is a pretty cool deal for her. I think, she was going to be one in, one out, but I think that's fine. I think that's perfectly fine, especially when you're losing to Rena. You're losing to a serious competitor, a serious contender in this year's tournament. We then had the main event. And I say this because I think Xena deserves more. She's been there longer. But, B kind of came back in and became the top dog again, right? Oh, she went to WWE. Oh, she's a former World of Stardom champion. In terms of the foreigners, right? She is seen as right? She had a World of Stardom championship match, right? Out of the blue. She beat Saya Kamatani last year. I don't think B has been bad. I think she has been fine, and I think she was fine in this match for the most part, even though I was scared a few times because it looked like they were a little off kilter once or twice. They didn't seem like they were fully connected, fully locked in on one another. But still, like, I watched Xena have that match with Hina, and then I watched B have this match with Ami, and it's just not the same level. I don't think this match hit the level they wanted to for a main event, because I just don't think they had the chemistry to nail it down necessarily. It didn't click, but I understand why it was the main event. You have a former World of Stardom champion. You have someone in Ami Sareee who obviously they're super high on. I think we can all agree to that. Despite her not so big push over the past number of months, right? I think it's been a weird trying to figure out what we're doing with her overall, right? Um, but yeah, the match just didn't fully connect like I wanted. I think B has been better in tag team action rather than singles. Um, and overall, I just want to see someone like Xena push, because I think Xena has put in so much work, and I know, again, working back from the injury, but still, um, it's those types of things, and I'm not taking anything away from B whatsoever, but that's kind of how I landed when I watched Tina and Xena have their match compared to this one. I was just like, that weird, type thing, but I get it. Bigger name, I guess. So that's how it gets the main event. But anyways, Ami Sourei did get the victory, advancing to the second round. Everyone will have competed on day 3, so that everyone in the right side of the bracket had to compete in a match the next day. So with that being said, and we'll get to it right here, we had Sayaka Kurara and Tomoki Inaba in round number 2, which was an exciting one to on paper. We had Rina and Ami Sourei, another exciting one on paper. Hina and Azusa Naba, another exciting one on paper. And Miyu Amasaki versus Saida, which was a very interesting one, as that got the main event slot. So let's talk about it now. Day 3 of the Cinderella tournament right here, right now. Started off with the left side, of course, Hanan versus Rana Yagami. I think putting this first out of all the tournament matches made a ton of sense. Why? Well, because I don't think anyone necessarily saw a ton of drama coming out of Hanan versus Rana Yagami. Again, so much of the conversation for me going into this tournament is, what is someone like a Rana Yagami going to be doing? What is their placement? Well, getting a win is good, but how much of a chance are they going to have against someone like Hanan? I thought, for what it's worth, she did a good job at standing to someone like a favorite, someone who is obviously one of Stardom's top future stars. They're pushing her that way. They've given her stars, all these different things. I think Rana did a good job. I think the match um unfortunately lacked the excitement level that it could have had if it was maybe a different competitor. But again, that's kind of where I'm at with the Hanan tournament matches, is that until she faces someone serious, which we'll see in the quarterfinals, there's not as much drama as you'd hope. And going from Momokogo to Rana Yagami, there was not really any drama for her matches. So it was a fine, solid match, but nothing to write home about. Hanan advanced with the backdrop driver. You then had Natsupoi versus Rion. On paper, this is very similar to Hanan versus Rana Yagami, but it went a very, very different way. And it was Rion that got not only the biggest upset of the entire tournament, but a second straight upset win after defeating Yuna Mizumori in the first round in stunning fashion. She then managed to do the same, this time with a former Wonder of Stardom champion in Natsupoi. I think we're at a fascinating point in both of these two careers. With Rihanna, it is time to start giving her opportunities, right? She had a very solid 5-star Grand Prix where more often than not, she was one of the better performers on the night because of her overall efforts. And with Natsupoi, I think we are seeing her, and Sayori for that matter, kind of being pushed down the card a little bit. I don't think Natsupoi may be getting set up for the big time matches as much here anymore, right? She lost that match to Sareee, and while there's not been any follow up for Sareee either, I do think that the lack of direction has been fascinating. Her being in this tournament, a tournament that is mostly filled with mid card to lower talent, has been an interesting part. And now losing to Rion, which again is the Cinderella tournament, you can do these types of wins and losses, is notable. So that happened. That is that, and it was a really good shock because it was really cool for Rihanna the way she reacted, just kind of being like, "Oh my gosh, I did it." And moves her to the the quarterfinals, which gave us a fascinating matchup in itself, which we'll talk about here in a second. But good for Rion and a good surprise by Stardom booking the Cinderella tournament. Again, it's the type of surprise you want. You want that Cinderella underdog story, and that is what Rion is bringing to the table. You then had the first of a few matches I was very excited about, starting with Hina versus Azusa in Naba. This ended up being quite the back and forth. Not shocking, two of the best young stars in the entire Joshi scene colliding in a match that it could go either way. Azusa Naba, like I said, had a hell of a run last year that brought her, I believe, all the way to the semifinal against Sayaka Kurara, while Hina has had nothing but success and a glow up over the past year with the Future of Stardom title reign and now just becoming a top competitor in this promotion. So honestly, this matchup going into it could have won either way. I don't think it was a foregone conclusion because I thought to myself in my head, okay, well, if you want to have the drama of Sayaka Kurara having to go through hate, right? Because of course she is trying to face Sayaka Kamatani. Azusa winning here and getting to another semifinal against Kurara was not something I was taking out of the question whatsoever. So I do think that helped the dramatics of this match and the overall quality of this match. But no fear, no worry. It was indeed Hina who got the victory after hitting the big splash off the top. She did not get screwed over by Sayaka Kamatani, much like Lady C did. She got the big win, and like I said, this was one of the top matches so far in the tournament. To me, really, really solid work between these two. I think it is an MVP run for Hina, on track so far through her first two matches. We'll see if she can continue it in the next round. Then we had the match of the tournament. Up until this point, this is Sayaka Kurara versus Tomoka Inaba. On the surface, on paper, it was an exciting matchup. You have Tomoka Inaba, who I just said earlier needs to be someone given the opportunity to be pushed, given the opportunity to have a chance, given the opportunity to do simply more, right? I think that is kind of undeniable. But to follow that up, you have someone in Sayaka Kurara who has made the strides to be a great, solid, babyface underdog worker, right? She has made the strides to be that seemingly at all times. And in this match, this was a match of Sayaka Kurara overcoming. Sayaka Kurara once again digging down and being the underdog that can get the job done. It's fascinating because she won the Cinderella last year. How is she an underdog? Well, I just think that's the persona she has. I don't think over the past year after winning the Cinderella she has went to the point of, oh, she's this big undeniable star. No, I think she's still someone who is developing, someone who's learning. But when you have this type of match where you are selling your leg like death, like she is selling this leg because Tomoka was nasty. Every step of the early going in this match, she attacked that leg. She hit one kick that I've watched about 17 times since, where she hesitates, she fakes the kick to the head, and kicks her in the leg, and it looks like she just snaps it. There's also a point in this match where Kurara goes for her springboard. I think she does like a crossbody type thing, and she can't do it because her leg gives out. Beautiful work. Beautiful work by her. Beautiful work by both of these two. And ultimately, it's all building to Kurara getting back into the match by getting her signature sleeper hold, which really levels the playing field. But even at one point when Kurara goes for the spear, she is drilled with a knee to the head by Tomoka that looked like the match was over. But as she often does, she fights back. She does hit a spear, and they're trading back and forth before one person catches the other. And ultimately, Kurara was able to catch Tomoki Inaba with the Falcon Arrow to get the victory and advance and survive in so many ways. This match was awesome. It is the best match of the Cinderella, I think, to this point. It is one that if you haven't watched, go out of your way to watch it. Listen, Tomoka Inaba deserves to do so much more in the world of Joshi, not just Stardom. But I understand, and again, I'm all for the story. I'm believing in the story. How are we going to get there? Well, this win ultimately set up the ultimate rematch from last year's Cinderella tournament because Rina defeated Ami Sareee in the next match in another very solid back and forth between these two. A much better match for Ami Sareee. She's better in the big striking battles, right? The big big fighting battles back and forth, less technical, more slugfest. That is what she's good at. Rina's fantastic at that, right? Trading big move after trading big move. And I was stunned when this wasn't the main event, but this not being the main event was kind of a giveaway that I'm sure Kurara versus Rina will be the main event of the Korakuen on Wednesday, which I'm super excited to talk about. But Rina got the win, setting up the Cinderella tournament final rematch in the quarterfinals this year. Will be Kurara versus Rina, and there's so much to go over there. We'll talk about that in a second. But I don't want to discount any of this. It's fascinating, right? Ami Sareee and Rina both are losers of the Wonder Stardom Championship challenges over the past number of months. So seeing them get this far was good. Seeing Rina continue, right? Her path continues. She is one win away from once again being in a semifinal for the tournament. It'll be her third straight singles semifinal after making it to the finals of the Cinderella last year, the semifinals of the 5-Star Grand Prix last year as well. I'm just asking, when are we going to pull the trigger? When are we going to let Rina win one of the big ones? I'm ready. I've been ready. And if she ends up winning this tournament, I'd be thrilled, but I don't see it yet. But I'm also rooting for Sayaka Kurara because who's the most obvious person to dethrone her for the World of Stardom Championship if she wins it? That's Rina. So that definitely helps my rooting effort for Kurara here. But like I said, very strong match here, and that set us up for a main event that became very predictable to me because why would you put Saida versus Miyu Amasaki in the main event? Because Miyu Amasaki would be pulling off the major upset. That was what I saw once I saw this being the main event. I was like, really? And then, well, it all proved off. I think it ended up being a really solid match as well. I think Miyu and Saida did a really good job. Ida kind of did a great job at forcing Hamasaki to fight back to again playing to a role that Kurara's played to so far as being an underdog. That is what Hamasaki is. And much like Rion, literally in the exact same spot on the other side of the bracket, like they're in the exact same spot on the right side of their bracket. she pulled off a second straight upset. She beat Rina Yamashita, she beat Saida, and she is moving on to the quarterfinals. So good job for Miyu Amasaki, and that leaves us here. This is where we are. We have Hanan versus Maki Ito in the quarterfinal. That is something, all right. We have Aya Sakura versus Rian in the semi or in the quarterfinal. That is one match I did not predict happening whatsoever. But that is where we have landed. We also have Sayaka Kurara versus Rina, the rematch, the Cinderella final rematch from last year, a match that frankly I could see Saya Kamatani getting involved in, and that could be how Kurara loses this tournament. She cost her sister, or not cost her sister, she cost Kurara. She cheats to help Rina win. Rina advances. Hate takes down Kurara, and that leads to us making the match, right? Oh, you lost again. Why would I give you a title match? Something like that. We will see where that leads to. But like I said, I'm still fully believing we are going to Queendom with this for Kurara. Win, lose, or draw in this tournament. But I'm so pumped for that match. It looks so good. It's going to be so exciting. It's, again, everything you want from the Cinderella tournament. That is your big final four. And then your other final quarterfinal matchup, it will be Hina versus Miyu Amasaki, a little Queen's Quest dynamic there. Formerly Queen's Quest members together, now facing off in the biggest match of Miyu Amasaki's singles career. And it's not Hina's career yet. She just had a Wonderstorm Championship match, but we're getting there. So here's the potential for all of you. We have the potential of a Hanan, Rina, Hina final four with either Aya Sakura or Rian being there as well. We also have the potential of Kurara versus Hanan, my predicted final, being there. We have the potential of Miyu Amasaki versus Rian, just a crazy one. We have the potential of Aya Sakura versus Sayaka Kurara, the New Blood Tag Team Champions, making it to the final. There are so many different opportunities on the board here, so many unique opportunities that in so many ways were unpredictable, but that is what's so exciting. And I'm very excited for the quarterfinal. Like I said, I will have a review up of those four matches on Wednesday after it all happens, when we will preview the semifinals and finals on that video. Then over this weekend on Saturday, we'll get some sort of Marigold Corkin review up talking about their main matches. We'll also get the finals of the Stardom Cinderella Tournament on Sunday. We'll do a recording for that as well. So much to be excited about, so much to be locked in about. So hopefully you are enjoying what we are bringing to the table here, right here on the YouTube channel. Lots of video content coming your way over the next week. Speaking of Marigold, just wanted to quickly say on that Cork and Hall show, we will have the debut of new rookie or AI. I don't know how it is AI. That is the naming, and maybe she'll have a full name when she debuts. I don't know, but right now we're going with I. That is our name spelled, much like I Hozan. And she'll be debuting against Yuka Yamazaki. We have no idea anything about I. We just know she wears a cool mask so far, and we'll see how she does. So it's always fun to see a new Joshi debut, especially in Marigold, right? With what young Marigold has done. I'm super duper excited to see how she does. So congratulations to her on the debut, and I'm looking forward to that one. And everything else from that show, we will have a review up this weekend for that one. Now we head over to La Noche de las Amazonas from CMLL. This was their Friday show, an all women's show. Stardom sent over 3 wrestlers, Micah, Starlight Kid, and May Sarah. Micah was in a singles match against Dark Silhouette, getting the victory on that one. Cool to see Stardom in Arena Mexico in some way, shape, or form, right? We were able to see FWC, Hazuki, and Koguma do the same. Last year for the Grand Prix, so it was cool to see Micah, Starlight Kid, and May Sarah get the opportunity. I thought this match was fine, nothing you have to necessarily go out of your way to see, but fine nonetheless. And then we had the tag team title match. So it was Starlight Kid and May Sarah getting the challenge for the championships against La Jarchita and Yuvia. The match ended up being pretty solid. I thought Starlight Kid and May Sarah really adjusted well to Arena Mexico. Not shocking. I always thought May Sarah was kind of built for it if she ever got the opportunity. I think she would be a star there, and I think they did a great job as challengers. They ultimately came up short, which isn't a shock. I don't think it's a real shock to see them lose and not win the CMLL World Women's Tag Team titles, especially, considering they are back in Japan as far as I'm concerned already. But it was cool to see them compete there. They also had another match or a few other matches throughout the week that you can check out early on. But if you want to check out anything from the Stardom side of things on the show, I would check out the tag title match. I thought Starlight Kid and May Sarah did a solid job. Now we talk about the Chihiro Hashimoto weekend. This has been a weekend that I think if you have been on social media for any any moment, you have seen the hype. You've seen the hype, and you've seen the hype for Chihiro Hashimoto versus everyone, it seems. Starting off with Chihiro Hashimoto versus Thomas Shire. And every match felt different. So Chihiro Hashimoto, the reigning defending Sendai Girls World Champion, was in the 16 karat gold tournament, WXW's annual, pretty big deal of a tournament. So it was really cool to see Hashimoto enter such a thing. And it was really cool to see Hashimoto play an underdog. And a unique underdog. The only way I think Chihiro Hashimoto can play an underdog, because Chihiro Hashimoto was half the size of Thomas Shire, but that did not stop her from being an absolute all-star in this match. This match was so much fun. This match absolutely ruled. You had Hashimoto hitting a big German on Thomas Shire, running through him at points. And listen, I'm not shocked she didn't win. She should have. I'm not shocked she didn't win, though. She became an instant star, though, over this weekend in Germany. She had 3 matches that all stood out, 3 matches, and it all started with this one. This, I think, was probably my favorite, quite frankly, but I have them all ranked around the same thing because I think they all produced a different version of Hashimoto, but this was so different, so unique to what she usually does that I absolutely loved it. Then on the Ambition 17 show, part of WXW's weekend, they always run this unique show with cool matchups. It was Kanji versus Chihiro Hashimoto in a shoot style match. That's kind of the idea, shoot style pro wrestling. So you had a lot of submission based, a lot of grappling, a lot of groundwork between Hash and Kanji. And Kanji got a lot in on Hashimoto, which was like weird for me because Hash runs through people in Japan, right? That's kind of like the best part about Hashimoto, because she is so good at doing that and then allowing a wrestler to have an awesome comeback and then ultimately saying what's done is done, right? Um, but this was a fascinating match because Kanji got a lot of the work in, and it ultimately was all about Hashimoto just kind of saying, "LOL, I win in the end." But it was really good. I know for a lot of people, this was their favorite Hashimoto match of the weekend. I can understand why. If you're more into shoot style than I am, you're gonna absolutely love this. But it's like 9 minutes. They pack a lot in there. It's really good. It's really, really good. And again, it's just this. It's just the showcase of Chihiro Hashimoto being one of the best on the planet. She has been on a different level, I think, really over the past 365 days, and this was just another case of that. And then her final match that I checked out was her singles match with Danny Luna on night 3 of the 16 karat gold tournament. I really like Danny Luna. From all the times I've seen her, I've never not walked away impressed. So when I learned that these two had faced off in kind of a surprise singles, I was amped. And they didn't let me down. They didn't let me down whatsoever. Hard hitting, back and forth, power versus power. And ultimately Hashimoto made her tap out because listen, Big Hosh ain't losing that many times. She lost once. That was good enough. But this match was really solid, really cool. And I walked away just saying, man, I'd love to see Danny Luna in Japan. I know we're not going to get it. She signed to TNA, but I would love to see Danny Luna in Japan. I think she's one of the better wrestlers who are based in America these days. So awesome match. I'd check out all 3 if you have the time, if you have the opportunity, because it's Chihiro Hashimoto in singles matches. I don't think I have to say more to sell you on that, but all 3 were very unique. This was more traditional Hashimoto, a little bit more offensive, but at the same time had to battle back. but all 3 matches give you a different Hosh, and I think that's always awesome to see the range that she has. We then had Pro Wrestling Eve. We're going to talk about the Joshi matches here, starting with Jamie Hayter versus Miyu Yamashita. This was on the Women Behaving Badly show as part of International Women's Weekend. Of course, there was Wrestle Queendom weekend, which we will talk about here in a second. But they had a show on Friday first, and I thought the Friday show was quite good. Jamie Hayter versus Miyu Yamashita. I mean, I don't need to say more than that to sell you on it. Obviously, people adore Jamie Hayter, people adore Miyu Yamashita, and this, felt more like the old school Miyu Yamashita big match style that I have desperately missed. And this match was really, really good until like the final 2 minutes when they kind of just stopped wrestling to get to the draw, which was a bummer. It was an absolute bummer because they were crushing, and then we kind of just like, okay, let's end this. I would love to see these two work again. I would adore it. I would adore it. I don't expect it. I'd love to see it in a TJPW ring, quite frankly. I think that'd be really cool. But seeing Yamashita in her element against someone to the caliber of Jamie Hayter was always inviting, always exciting. I don't get to see many Yamashita singles anymore, so this was wonderful to see. Like I said, I wish the finish was a little different, but a really fun match, start to finish. You then had the preview tag as Sapphire Reed and Shuri teamed up against Azumi and Alex Windsor. If you didn't know, Shuri would be facing Alex Windsor for the New Japan Strong Women's Championship, while Sapphire Reed would be facing Azumi in a singles match on Wrestle Queendom. I've seen Sapphire Reed a handful of times before, but not many. She was probably the one that jumped out to me most over this weekend of people I didn't know much about. I thought she was really good, and I instantly walked away from both this match and the Azumi match saying, get her a tour in Japan ASAP, whether it be Stardom, Sendai Girls, I don't care who, just someone get her over there, because I think getting her in a Japanese dojo even for a month is going to just expand her skill set even more, and I think she's just going to become a star. Listen, I loved the few moments we've gotten over the past number of years, right? Even like Rain Laverse, is that her name? She signed with WWE now, but when she came to Central last year, I thought she was awesome. She was an Eve star once upon a time. Obviously, Lana Cross, we sang the praises of. There's all these different wrestlers that I think get them to Japan. If it leads to her signing, that's fine, whatever. I just want to get her to Japan because I think she's going to sign sooner rather than later if I had to bet. But a solid preview here. I think they were all saving their best for Sunday. And then the main event of the show was Anita Vaughn versus Dash Chisako. And I was impressed. I have never seen Anita Vaughn ever in my life. Don't know who she is, but that's why I watch these shows, to learn who she is. And when you can go into a Falls Count Anywhere match with Dash Chisako and not only perform, but bring out the Dash Chisako, you're doing something right. I walked away very impressed with Anita Vaughn. I was pretty much, it was not actually a match I was planning on watching, but I noticed Dash had a singles match. I was like, okay, I'm not skipping out on that. I don't get Dash singles matches all that much because I love Dash Chisako. If you know me, you know I love Dash. So I was pumped. I was pumped to see it. And yeah, they actually really tore it down. I thought this was my favorite match of the first show. Really physical, utilizing the chair, big dash dive that got the win right through a table, the signature dash dive. Yeah, I don't know. It was really, really good. Nita Vaughn, again, someone I'd love to see get a little Japan tour. I think that'd be really cool. After just this one match. I mean, I saw this and I was like, okay, Senjo, you give the call right now. This just, it makes sense. And maybe that's what this leads to. I don't know. But really cool match, and I'm happy they brought Dash over for it. Then we had Wrestle Queendom. We're going to talk 2 matches from this show. Yeah, just the 2. Starting off with Azumi versus Sapphire Reed. Again, very impressed with Sapphire. I think she's a very talented wrestler. I think it was just nice to see Azumi in a singles match. They only had one little slip up in this that, I don't think took away from the quality of the match whatsoever. It was just towards the end because they were going to the finish, which was leading to the which was leading to the Canadian Destroyer, followed by the Azumi Sushi to give Azumi the win. But Sapphire Reed, again, jumped off the page to me. She is someone that I've been told about, that I've heard hype about. I've seen a handful of times, but between the last time I saw her and now, she's a fully advanced, solid wrestler. She's very young. She's very talented. She's someone that I think if you are um any Joshi promotion, you want to try to bring her in before an American promotion inevitably signs her. She's smaller, but it works out. Like she's perfect for a high speed type belt. That's why I liked the Azumi matchup. This was really good as well. I really enjoyed like every international match I checked out, especially from Eve. I thought they had just a very solid slate top to bottom. But this was one that I would recommend as Azumi got the win. And then the shocker, New Japan Strong Women's Championship was on the line as Alex Windsor won the belt, defeating Shuri in Shuri's first defense of the belt since defeating Saya Kamatani at the Tokyo Dome to win that belt. I have so many thoughts. I have no problem with Alex Windsor winning the belt. Alex Windsor is a very good wrestler. Alex Windsor is someone that I've enjoyed watching. Alex Windsor's had a lot of title matches over the past year, right? She challenged for the IWGP against Shuri in Eve last year. She challenged Sareee for the belt in Ring of Honor last year, and now she challenged for this belt here at Wrestle Queendom. I have no problems with all that. It's just like, what are we doing? What are we doing with Shuri? Like Shuri is awesome. Shuri is such a star. Shuri is someone who defeated Saya Kamatani. Sorry, let's go back. She defeated Sareee to win the IWGP Women's title. She then defeated Saya Kamatani at the Tokyo Dome, the reigning World of Stardom champion, to win the New Japan Strong Women's title and successfully defend the IWGP Women's title. She then defended that IWGP Women's title at the New Beginning USA against Athena, the longest reigning Ring of Honor Women's World Champion, the longest reigning Ring of Honor champion of all time. She defeated both of them. So why in her first New Japan Strong defense is she losing? That's the big deal. It's very similar to last year when everyone was so mad that she lost the IWGP Women's title after one defense, again, against Alex Windsor. And I understood the frustrations. I was all for Sareee winning the belt, but I understood the frustrations. This had to be really frustrating because we were building her up as this, absolute destroyer, beating all these top champions from around the world, and then boom, she loses. And I'm like, what? What? Again, I have no problem with Alex Windsor winning. This match was really good. Probably the best of all the slate overall. But I don't know. I was stunned. Slate overall from the international matches. I prefer Kurara and Tomoka over this one. But I was stunned. I was stunned. Again, not because of like the loss, but just like the realization of like, wait a minute, she beat Saya Kamatani for this, and she didn't defend it. She ends up being the only New Japan Strong Women's Champion to not successfully defend the belt. Happy for Alex Windsor, and listen, that belt out of Stardom is a victory at the end of the day. I don't need it in Stardom. No one else needs it in Stardom. Since the day it was made, no one else needed it in Stardom, but it always made its way back. So that's how I feel about that. So good for Alex Windsor. She can have the belt. But man, oh man, I think Shuri needs a big win after this. Because it is a bummer after the way you built her up as this, again, beater of all champions type, and this happens. So it was a really good match. Really, really good match. And I recommend checking it out. And it was really cool for Eve to get that moment. I just was stunned. Absolutely stunned. But let's talk about our last match here today, and then I'm going to get really sad for a moment. So we had the Universe Mixed Magic match here on Monday on Universe Magic, I believe the show was called. It ended up being Mayu Iwatani, Mika Wada, and Mio Momono versus Takumi Iroha, Miyuki Takase, and Utami Hayashishita. The match was fantastic. Plain and simple. The match was awesome. Utami Hayashishita was a superstar. Her and Mika Wada were freaking great together. They built up a match on accident. I don't know if they're ever going to have a singles match, but they built it up. Mix in the fact that Miyamoto was tossing Utami on her head. You had Mayu Utani and Takumi in there for obvious reasons. You had Miyuki Takase, who I actually thought played a really good base a lot of the match. It was just a fantastic trios match, my favorite match in weeks, quite frankly. And it's not shocking. You see all this talent, it jumps off the page. It's all talent that we never get to really see share the. We get to see Mayu and Utami share the ring, and Red Energy's always together. But on opposing sides, teaming up with one another, it's all very different. It's all very unique, and that's why these matches rock. I will say this: I think the only people doing trios better than Marigold right now is Monday Magic when it comes to Joshi, because they just put together these crazy ass, top of the line, all-star Joshi tag team matches that rock. And this was another one. This wasn't as good as the Marigold versus Marvelous one on Monday Magic last year, which was Mayu, Sareee Amioka, and Utami versus Takumi, Mio, and Senka. I think that one is top of the line, but I do think this was very good, if not very great, and a match worth seeking out as it took place in Shinjuku FACE. Which brings me to the unexpected closer of this show today. As I'm recording this, it was made official by the official Shinjuku FACE account that Shinjuku FACE will be closing at the end of September. And I am legitimately emotional about this because this is a promotion that, or not a promotion, a building that has become my favorite in wrestling. You know, so many people pick Cork and so many people pick all these different things. And I understand why. You know, I understand why. Corkin's the one of the meccas, right? Um, I'm actually gonna put myself on camera for this. Um, but my point is, you know, Shinjuku Face is an incredible promotion or incredible building. I keep saying promotion. It is a building that my favorite match of all time has happened. It is a building that so many shows that I fondly love, you know, Sareeism. I mean, what more do I have to say than that? Sareeism is a brand, a promotion, something that has in so many ways altered my fandom. And Shinjuku Face was the home base of that. For the first 9 events, Shinjuku Face was that. We got to watch Sareee return in this building against Chihiro Hashimoto. We got to see her face Mako Satomura more time. We got to watch her and Chihiro Hashimoto again. We got to watch her team with Kairi against Takumi Iroha and Risa Nakajima. We got to see, like I said, my favorite match of all time, her and Mayu Utani team against Chihiro Hashimoto and Veni. That's just Sareeism. That's just Sareeism. That's just what we got to see through Sareeism at this venue. You go beyond this venue, or not again, not the venue. You go beyond Sareeism, and you look at what Marigold's been able to do in this building, and what so many Joshi promotions have been able to do with this building. Hell, Stardom, literally 2 years ago, had their one of their best 5-star Grand Prix shows of all time in this building. You think of all the amazing, amazing matches, shows, moments from Stardom's history in this building, all the amazing moments from other promotions. And this is the biggest bummer, you know, not personal part of this aside. This is the biggest bummer. So many of these smaller companies that aren't the New Japans of the world, aren't Stardom now, but Stardom back in the day, you know, Oz Academy, Sendai Girls, DDT, Noah, right, with Monday Magic, especially Marvelous, Marigold, all these different companies. This was the number 2, man. You know, you build up to the big Korakuen once or twice a year for a lot of these companies, but Shinjuku Face was the number 2. We have a world title match. Let's put in Shinjuku Face. We have a big story. Let's put in Shinjuku Face. We have a big show. Let's put in Shinjuku Face. That's now gone in September. It is a venue that was so unique, right? It's not the prettiest. It's not, but it had a unique feel. The darkness, but the excitement of the crowd surrounding it and being so close was one super unique part about it. Like, the environment of Shinjuku Face, for me, was second to none. Yes, a packed Corkin Hall is legitimately second to none, but at the end of the day, very few companies are packing Corkin Hall, but you could pack Shinjuku Face. You could pack Shinjuku Face and do some crazy matches that go through the crowd and have these incredible moments, and that's gonna be all gone. And the crowds were always so amplified and so loud because of the way the acoustics worked in that building. It's so small, but so many people packed in there. Over 500 for all the Sareeism events, guys. Like, they packed it in. They they had incredible, amazing matches at this building, and so many memories. 21 years this building has ran. This I don't know how many people know that this was my favorite building in wrestling. Not just Joshi, not just Japan, wrestling. Corkin, I get it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And Corkin, I guess, will be my favorite building once this closes. But man, Shinjuku Face just was it. It was it. As someone who loves these smaller promotions, that loves these promotions that put on big shows in this place, I'm bummed, man. I'm so bummed. The only thing I'm happy about is that I got to see the news before I stopped recording this. The rumor came out earlier in the day via Kakutolog. I still don't say that correctly. And then Shinjuku Face confirmed September would be the end. So I'm just bummed. I'm just absolutely bummed. And listen, I know people are gonna say it's just a building, but it's a building that was such a important ground for so many different promotions through the years, and especially now. Um, and now it's going to be gone. So that's a bummer. I could just think of so many great matches that happened in this building. Like I said, my favorite match, Mayu and Sareee versus Rennie and Hash, happened in this building. I'm gonna miss it. I'm gonna miss it a lot. Hopefully there's an option, or because that's the other part of this, right? This option's now gone in Tokyo, and for so many promotions, things are too expensive, things are too big, right? Who's gonna run what now? Because this was at peak was like 530 people. That's a great middle ground between Korakuen and like Shinkiba First Ring, because Shinkiba First Ring is like 230 or something like that, and Korakuen obviously can go up to 1500 or more. This was the perfect middle ground for so many different promotions, and now that's gone. Hopefully, something rises up and can take over and fill in for what Shinjuku Face brought. But I don't know. I don't know if there's anything like Shinjuku Face. There isn't. I know there isn't anything like Shinjuku Face. It was one of one, and so many amazing things happened in 21 years there, and I'm going to enjoy every bit of it as we go through the remainder of this year as it closes out. But yeah, I'm bummed. I am bummed. So it is what it is. Can't do much about it. But I would love if the news changed and somehow it stayed open. That would move me tremendously, but I'm not gonna count on it. So I'm gonna enjoy every bit of Shinjuku Face the rest of the way. But it was not the news I was looking forward to on this fine evening. But that's life, I guess. Anyways, hopefully you enjoyed this show. Hopefully you enjoyed Joshi Weekly, talking the Cinderella Tournament, talking Sareeism, talking Joshi Goes Global. We'll be back on Wednesday, hopefully. So tomorrow, if not tomorrow, then Thursday, with a quarterfinals review from Stardom, as well as a preview for the semifinal and final on that very recording. Won't be a long one. It's only 4 matches. And then we will be back on Saturday in some way, shape, or form to review part or all of the Marigold-Marvelous-Sendai, which features a new rookie debut, the foreigner debuts, 3 championship matches, plenty to talk about there. And then on Sunday, we will bring you a Cinderella Tournament not live, Cinderella Tournament review, final review on that very show, talking about everything that turns out and where we're going from there. So hopefully you enjoy all that. We're putting a bunch of content together. We still have the games to post. We still have so much to post. So hopefully you continue to enjoy the content as we stroll on. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers, so thank you to everyone who has taken part, who has subscribed to the channel. Keep doing so if you haven't already. We greatly appreciate it. So until next time, everyone, so long. See you later. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening.